Hello, Beth the Builder here, and I'm back tiling! So this is my hallway, and once again we're running into the problem of this sheet flooring that is full of asbestos. But I've done all the demo of the top tile because it's some back-breaking, like, my bones hurt. I'm very tired from that. So that's all done and out of the way. I've cleaned this all up, and hopefully we're like ready to tile. I am hoping just one box of these tiles is going to do this whole space. I'm pretty confident. I didn't measure anything, I just bought a box. And these are different. I got a different brand and a different pattern than my kitchen. So check that video out. So these are Armstrong, which is one of the, maybe the oldest brand of tiles that you can get. They are kind of seemingly the biggest culprit of also asbestos-filled tiles and sheet flooring, etc. Probably because I've just been around for so long. I'm not knocking Armstrong, but you know, I don't know, maybe I am. Anyway, so these are 12 inches by 12 inches again, and they're this funky, cool geometric pattern. Geometric? Is this geometric? Whatever. It's this cool pattern. I like it. So I talked about this adhesive I bought when I did my kitchen, and this is what it is. It's Henry multi-purpose carpet and sheet vinyl adhesive. And I don't remember if this is actually what I ordered or if I got the wrong thing, because when I was looking at it, I thought maybe I'd gotten the wrong thing, but I don't remember because I ordered this like a year ago. It has vinyl in the name, so I feel like it's gonna work out. And I think for these peel and stick tiles, because they are cheap, if you want them to stick for any like amount of time, you need to add some kind of extra adhesive, which I had read, but I just wasn't prepared to do that for my kitchen because I was a complete noob at tiling things. And then the other thing that I researched was trowels. And boy, who knew there were so many trowels? I didn't. So I couldn't find a super confident answer of what kind of trowel I would need. And I couldn't get the exact one that I wanted at my hardware store. So I got two different things. So this is a 1/16 V notched trowel. And this is a scrapey tool that has square notches, and it has all the different sizes. Well, it has 4 different sizes of square notches. And from what my research said, it was either you want a square notch trowel or a U-shaped trowel, or U-notched trowel. So I'm hoping with these two things, I can get the job done. I think it was either a 1/4 inch that I needed or a 1/16, but again, I got varying answers because I don't think applying adhesive for vinyl tiles is exactly super popular. So I'm not a tiler, so I'm not an expert, but I'm gonna give it a go and just see what happens. My adhesive says that it needs to sit for 10 to 20 minutes until it's like, I don't know, like slightly tacky. The directions on here are a little bit vague. But yeah, I'm not a tiler, I'm not a professional, but peel and stick tiles are like wicked easy to use. And I feel like from watching a couple videos myself and just doing some research, applying adhesive is not hard. It's gonna be an experiment, okay? So I do want these tiles to actually last for longer than a few years because I am not interested in demoing, peeling up, scraping up any more tiles at any time in the near future. So if I ever think about it, I need someone to like slap me because I'm over it. It's so much work. I'm exhausted. The tiling part is like the fun, like exciting, like where your whole project comes together thing. So that's what I'm excited about. Again, I've scraped up tiles, glue, cleaned a whole bunch, filled in some holes that I created, painted my trim. That's another thing. Because this trim is so old in my house, I tried to remove some of it in my kitchen and it did not go well. So I'm not gonna do that, okay? I understand that that would be like the technically right thing to do in here, but like my house is old. I think this is some probably original trim. I mean, it's at least 70 years old or something. I'm not gonna try and remove it. I'm just not gonna, it's not worth it. So I painted the bottom like inch or two before I'm gonna apply my tile because I don't wanna try and paint once my tile is in place, at least anywhere close to the bottom. So if you have the option to remove trim, you should do that because it is the way to go. But my house is too old, the trim is too old, and maybe in the future I can fix this problem. I can take off part of the trim and add an extra piece or something, but I'm just not gonna mess around with it right now. It's not worth it. And that's like the beauty of DIYing. You can just like make that call. And if someone has got a problem with it, you can like be like, bye, off, don't talk to me about it. because it's your house and you get to make those choices. If it has things to do with like plumbing and wiring, probably don't take shortcuts. Don't just like fuck around with it. That being said, if it's like, I gotta rewire this light fixture, that's not that difficult. But some stuff you don't want to cut corners on, and other things, it's not that big of a deal. And this is one of those things. Yeah, like I said, this is a weird shaped space, so I'm gonna do my best to find a good starting spot, and then we're gonna get to applying adhesive and then tiling. And I'll let you know how it goes. So stick around. Alrighty, so I'm all done tiling, and it went pretty well, and I learned some things. So definitely the added adhesive is the way to go with these cheap kinds of tiles. Everything is sticking like pretty dang well, better than my kitchen. The adhesive, like if you're getting on the tiles, you can just like scrub it away once it's dried with soap and water, or even when it's wet, you can just wipe it away with soap and water. So like that was really easy. Working with adhesive is a little difficult. So getting started in here, it took me a long time because I wanted to have a good starting spot, wanted it to be square, and the adhesive is just something I've never worked with, so it took me a little bit to like get in the groove of things. But that being said, it's definitely worth it to feel like this is by far sticking better than just the adhesive on the back of these tiles. So I have several complaints about these tiles actually. So first of all, the adhesive that's just on these tiles is terrible. Like it's awful. It's like barely even sticky. Versus the tiles in my kitchen, which were a Keem brand, they were like so sticky. Like you couldn't even like touch the back of them without like getting anything stuck to them. So they were like wicked sticky. But these tiles, it's like I have one right here. Like I can just touch it with my hands and it's like, it's not even sticking to my hands. So I think like these, like it feels like there's no way that these would stick without added adhesive. My second complaint about these tiles is you can't tell from afar, but there is a little gray border around every edge of these tiles. And you would think, you know, every tile would be the same. Especially when you're talking about a pattern, you really want it to be the same because otherwise something isn't gonna match up. And that's partially why it took me so long to like get started, like laying a bunch of tiles. So you want your edges to be flush, obviously, against, you know, so that you have a straight line of tiles. But then you have to think about the pattern. So you want this pattern to line up, right? Okay, so this is what I ran into, is that you couldn't get the tiles to lay flush, like in a straight line, and also the friggin' pattern to match up because the border is uneven. So like this edge over here is way thicker than this one. Like I'll put a picture up here for you guys so that you can see. And it's so subtle that like I didn't realize it at first because I'd pulled out 6-7 tiles, and you don't realize it until you start to like put them against each other and you're like, what the fuck is going on? So these are cheap. I think potentially they're even manufactured cheaper than the Akeem brand. Even though they were essentially, my Akeem tiles were cheaper actually. So I think that's some bullshit because I think like the pattern, like I went with the pattern is more important to line up because you're gonna see like if these lines don't line up, you're gonna notice it like so fast it's gonna look like cheap and nasty. So because the border is like different widths on the edges, I would end up like taking tiles and laying out like 7 of them and then like flip-flopping them all around and turning them to get the like edges and the pattern to match up. It was ridiculous. So like I guess beware of cheap tiles and patterns. Yeah, I mean Armstrong, what the hell? So I definitely wouldn't recommend this pattern or these tiles, especially as a beginner. I mean, going with just a solid type color tile is probably way easier. The adhesive, same thing. Like that's not necessarily like a easy thing to deal with, but like it wasn't impossible. And if you're gonna go with cheap tiles, I think it's definitely what you want to do to get them to last. But I just was not prepared to do that in my kitchen, and this one little quart of adhesive pretty much did this whole space. I ran out like right at the end of like an edge, but that wasn't as big of a deal. The other thing that I didn't think about because I was thinking about other things is that there are, because of this sheet flooring underneath here, there are seams in it, and I didn't think about an edge, like a seam of my tiles being on top of that. So there's one place where it just, the way it worked out, my tiles are exactly, like their seams are almost exactly on top of this sheet flooring seam. And it's a pain in the ass. It's disappointing because there were just so many things to think about, and I was trying to find a good place to start. And I was trying to go with, I didn't want to have edges that were like really small. What's recommended is that your edge tiles are at least half a tile. So I moved my starting place slightly because I didn't want to end up with an edge like right here in this doorway that's like this much or something, because that just seemed like a bad idea. So I moved my starting line, and I didn't even think about like over here and then behind me there's 2 seams of that sheet flooring. So then once I got up there, I realized like just the way my tiles were going was that this way it was gonna be a line of tiles were gonna set like right along that seam. But it was just a mistake. Like I just didn't think about it. So that's something to be aware of if you're gonna do it yourself. If you're tiling over other tiles or sheet flooring or something like that, you need to be aware of where those seams are at. So yeah, that's my bad. So there's only one place really that just because of that seam, it just wants to like push up slightly. I used my rolling pin again, which did work. I don't know, I guess I'm maybe gonna need a new rolling pin because I had glue all over it by the end. But I also used weights to weight down certain edges that I knew, like over here especially, because I knew it was gonna be a problem. So it's right here by this doorway to our outside and then to our kitchen. And that totally worked, by the way, like weights, and then I used like a shitload of books in certain places too to like weigh down places that were like that. Yeah, the adhesive is definitely hardcore. I'm really pleased with that. I feel like it did a really good job. It does take a while to dry. Like my first tiles were still like Maybe I used too much adhesive at the very beginning, but a good like day later, there was still like wet adhesive that had like squished out from the edges. So yeah, I mean, overall, I would say I'm very pleased with how this looks, even if the process was a little bit like touch and go at times. Like it took me hours to lay like my first L in this area because of the problems that I ran into. And I like stood in my kitchen and like ate a snack and was like, what have I gotten myself into? Like, what am I doing? But we got there, and I did have to go get a second box of tiles. One was not enough, you know, I just guessed. Thumbs down for these tiles, but thumbs up for adhesive, and the overall look is really like eye-catching and cool. And I think it will like end up holding up way, way better than in my kitchen, which is disappointing because I did work so hard in my fucking kitchen. And that's something too, like if you have a perfect brand new surface that you're laying tiles on and you don't have to deal with asbestos or old sheet flooring or old tiles or old glue or anything, everything is going to be easier. But because of that sheet flooring, I just have to work with what I've got. So I think in my kitchen, if it was brand new flooring, like subfloor underneath, that was level and didn't have glue or sheet flooring or anything like that on it, I wouldn't have as big of a problem with some of these edges. And honestly, the majority of the edges that are coming up are on the first quadrant that I did in my kitchen. So those were the first tiles I've ever laid, the first little area I did. So that might be part of it too, that I just didn't do as good of a job. Maybe it's slightly more uneven there. I don't know. I mean, my house is old, so like nothing is level or square or easy at times. But you decide, like, doesn't this look way better than it did? And, you know, it cost me $45. So now you know, it was an experiment, and the overall result, now that I've had some time to like not be exhausted by it, I'm like, this looks fucking awesome. I'm very, very happy with it. Even if there's like 2 places where I'm like, meh, I wish I had done that differently. But that's okay. That's how it goes, and that's how you learn, and that's how you figure out, like, well, wouldn't do that again, or I would do that differently. I hope this helps somebody if you want to go tile something, if you want to use these peel and stick tiles for a project. If I can do it, I'm pretty sure, like, anyone can, if you've just got a little bit of, like, you know, can-do spirit, because this is only the second time I've ever tiled something. Alrighty, so, give me a like and subscribe if you like this, if you learned something, if I'm at least entertaining you, because that's what I want for Christmas. Subscribers. Just kidding. I want things, tools for Christmas. So yeah, Merry Christmas, be safe, I hope everyone has a good time, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week with a new video.